Hello friends, and welcome back to the SysAdmin Lab. In today's video, we are continuing from our previous tutorial with a new topic on VMware Workstation. We'll learn how to change the default settings in VMware Workstation after installation. Specifically, we'll cover how to set your default folder for virtual machines and organize your lab folder structure for a clean, hassle-free setup. Next, we'll explore other important VMware Workstation settings to optimize your home lab. Finally, we'll walk through creating your very first virtual machine in VMware Workstation. Let's get started. Before we dive in, here are a few things to know. If you want to check your VMware Workstation version, click on the Help menu, then select About VMware Workstation. Next, let's see how to change the default folder location for all new virtual machines. This determines where VMware will store your VMs. You can set this during installation or modify it afterwards. Click on the Edit menu and select Preferences. A new window will pop up showing multiple settings. Here, you'll see the current default location for virtual machines. We'll change this folder to a new location based on available disk space. Since I have only one drive, I'll create a folder in the C drive called Lab. You can choose any drive on your system. Go back to the Preferences window, click Browse, locate the folder you created, select it, and click OK. You'll also notice other default settings in this window. Feel free to explore and adjust them based on your requirements. The next important setting is assigned memory. This controls how much of your physical machine's RAM VMware can use for virtual machines. Adjust it according to your system's configuration. You can also configure USB settings here. Decide whether connected USB devices go to the host, the virtual machine, or prompt you each time. Additionally, you can manage software update settings, hotkeys, display options, and default hardware settings for new VMs. After making changes, click OK to save. To confirm, reopen Edit Preferences. You should see that your settings have been successfully applied. Another major configuration is network settings. This controls how your virtual machines communicate within VMware and with your home network. Go to Edit Virtual Network Editor. Click Change Settings. Administrator privileges may be required. Here are the three main network options. AIK Abridged connects your VM to your home LAN and allows it to get an IP automatically from your network DHCP. Make sure to select the correct physical network adapter. Finally, you can always check for VMware Workstation updates under the Help menu. That's it. These are the key settings to configure VMware Workstation for a clean, efficient, and well-organized home lab setup. Now, let's move on to the creation of a new virtual machine. From the VMware Workstation home screen, click on Create a new virtual machine. Alternatively, you can open the SAM option by going to the File menu and selecting New Virtual Machine. Both options will take you to the SAM wizard. Click Next to continue. The next screen will ask you to select the installation media for your operating system. For this demo, I'll use an ISO file of Windows. Here, you may enter a product key if you have one. Since this is a lab environment, I'll skip entering a license key at this stage. Moving ahead, VMware Workstation will ask for the name and location of this virtual machine. Since we already changed the default location for our VMs earlier, all new virtual machines will automatically be created in that folder. However, you can still override it here and choose a different location if needed. As for the virtual machine name, you can select something meaningful based on how you plan to use it in your lab setup. Here, I'll create a separate folder structure for each virtual machine inside the main lab folder. This ensures that all files related to a VM are stored in dedicated location. Now, I'll browse and select this folder as the location where VMware Workstation should save this VM's files. At the same time, I'll also change the virtual machine name. As a best practice, it's always recommended to keep the VM name and folder name the same for easy identification and management. Once done, click Next. On the next screen, we need to specify how much disk space to allocate for the virtual machine. This defines the size of the C drive. You can increase or decrease this value depending on your requirements. Just make sure to allocate enough space to meet the operating system's minimum requirements. For this demo, I'll assign. Next, we need to choose how we want to store the virtual machine files. VMware Workstation gives us two options: store the VM as a single file or split it into multiple files. The multiple file option is useful if you plan to move the VM across different storage devices. But for this lab, I'll select store the virtual machine as a single file, which is simpler and more efficient. Click Next to continue. On the final screen, we have a few more options. By default, the virtual machine will power on automatically once it's created. If you'd prefer to keep it powered off after creation, you can uncheck this option. You also have the option to customize hardware settings before finishing. Here, you can adjust memory, CPU, network configuration, or even attach different ISO file if needed. Once you are satisfied with the configuration, click Finish to save the settings. And that's it. We've successfully created our first virtual machine in VMware Workstation. Once the virtual machine is created and you are satisfied with the configuration, it's time to power it on. You can do this in two ways. Click the Power on this virtual machine button here, or right-click on the virtual machine name, hover over the Power option, and select Power on. Choose whichever method works best for you. After the VM is running, there are additional options available under Manage and Snapshots, which we'll explore in upcoming tutorials. Snapshots are especially useful for saving the state of your VM before making changes. Also, if in the future you need to add new hardware, such as another hard drive, a network card, or any other resource, you can do this easily by clicking the Add button within the hardware settings. For example, let's say we want to add a new hard drive to this virtual machine. First, select hard disk from the list and click Next. We'll keep the default option as NVMe, recommended, and then click Next again. On the next screen, VMware gives us 3 choices. Create a new virtual disk. Use an existing virtual disk. Use a physical disk. For this demo, I'll select Create a new virtual disk and click Next. Here, we can specify the disk size just like we did when creating the VM earlier. There's also an additional option. We can either allocate the full disk size right now, or leave it unchecked to let the VM grow dynamically up to the maximum size. For this demo, I'll set it to be. Finally, we can decide where to save this new disk file. By default, VMware will store it in the same location as the other VM files. However, we can also rename the disk file or browse to attach an already existing virtual disk if we want. Finally, click Finish and then OK to save this virtual machine with the newly added disk. Now, as you can see, our virtual machine has 2 drives available. I hope you found this tutorial helpful in understanding the basics of creating a new virtual machine in VMware Workstation, as well as changing and modifying its settings. In the next video, we'll take the next step and learn how to install Windows a virtual machine using an ISO image. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share your feedback in the comments. It really helps us grow and bring you more useful content.